Senator Josh Hawley exposes Anthony Fauci's blatant lies. We have Peter Doocy versus Karine Jean-Pierre once again, and Ted Cruz goes at it with the FBI director. All that and more here on The Bald Brad Show. Welcome to The Bald Brad Show. It is Monday, August 8th, and as always, folks, I couldn't be more than happy than to share these fine mornings with all of you, my friends and true American patriots, where we come together as a community, go over the stories of the day, and bring you all the news and information you need to know about. So if you want to join us here at The Bald Brad Show, and heck, we hope that you do, hit that like and subscribe button. If you're over at Rumble, hit the plus and give us a comment down below. And if you're listening on any of the podcast airwaves, Apple, Google, Spotify, etc., heck, folks, we're everywhere. Leave us a lovely 5-star review. Not only would you be helping a conservative, but most importantly, you'd be supporting getting conservative thought and ideas out there to new viewers who haven't seen our content or our channel. So your help and support would be greatly appreciated. With that being said, a lot of video clips today to go over. Matter of fact, there's not a single article we're going to touch. We're going to go over video clips from Josh Hawley to Peter Doocy, and then transition into the great Ted Cruz. I can't wait to show all of you what we have in store for you. With that being said, let's jump into our lead story regarding Senator Josh Hawley exposing Anthony Fauci for all his blatant lies. Normally this comes from Senator Rand Paul, but heck, when you throw Hawley into the mix, it just makes everything that much better. It's like increasing the production value of what's going on with everything. Without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks to the witnesses for being here. Dr. Quay, if I could just start with you. You said in your written testimony that the genome of COVID has some of the hallmarks of gain-of-function research, and in particular, 3 genomic regions you say have the signature of synthetic biology. 1 region has features of the 2 types of forbidden gain-of-function research that are associated with bioweapons development. And you said in your opening remarks that you believe COVID-19 was the product of gain-of-function research and was from a lab leak from the Wuhan Institute of Virology. My question, I guess, is, do you think that China engaged in a cover-up to prevent the world from knowing the true origins of this virus and a lab leak?
I think there's abundant evidence that they have not shared all the information they had at the time. They continue to not share information. I could give you a laundry list of 20 things that they've done, starting with a website with 21,000 viruses on September 12th. 2 a.m., someone was in the Wuhan Institute of Virology. That had been available to virologists for a decade. It was taken offline. It's not been returned. We've asked to see it. No one that I know of has ever seen it. It goes on from there.
Folks, what's happening right now? We're actually getting answers, clear answers from somebody. This rarely happens. Everybody's political that shows up to these things, and this guy's just like, yeah, they're not giving us the information we need. They're withholding everything from the globe, not just America, but freaking everybody else. Heck, this makes it kind of exciting. Maybe we'll actually dive into something new here and figure out if Anthony Fauci was in fact lying about gain-of-function research, because according, Senator, that never happened. There's no gain-of-function. Frankly, Senator, you don't know what the hell you are talking about. Remember that whole spiel between him and Rand Paul, where Rand Paul's like, there was gain-of-function research, and you're saying there's not. So now it's being exposed once again, and it ain't looking good for Anthony Fauci, I'll tell you that much.
Are you concerned with the continuation and expansion of Chinese gain-of-function research?
Well, I think I testified here that in December 2019, they were doing synthetic biology on a cloning vector of the Nipah virus, which is 60% lethal. We just experienced a 1% lethal virus. My estimates would be that could set us back a millennium. The Black Plague was a 20% lethal event, and it was 250 years for civilization to return.
Let me ask you this.
Did anybody just catch what we just heard? 60% lethal, and the Black Plague was 20%, and it's going to set you back a millennia? Why are people messing with this stuff? What are they doing with it? Let me know what you think about all that in the comments below. Why is somebody messing with gain-of-function research that has the possibility of a death rate of upwards of 60+%? I don't know. Warfare? It's baffling to me. But again, supposedly none of this is happening, right? We might get removed off YouTube here, folks, if we play something like this. We'll find out.
Yes. How safe were the testing conditions at Wuhan, to your knowledge?
Well, I think that a lot of the Western virologists actually used the findings of that as a way to get around saying it was okay at the beginning. All of the work that I've described as being done at what's called BLSA 2-3 level, which is commonly spoken of as a dentist laboratory level of biosafety. So maybe a little higher than that, but that's not a bad euphemism.
That's unbelievable.
You said, I think in your testimony, this is the most dangerous research that you have ever encountered. What makes this particular research so dangerous?
If you're doing experiments with a pathogen that is 60% lethal but is not airborne, and you make it airborne in the laboratory, and someone walks out with it. Nipah has a 21-day incubation period. It's perfect for widespread spread without being detected. We couldn't afford 60%. We can't afford 10% lethality.
Yeah. Dr. Ebright, let me ask you about the merits of gain-of-function research, because I was struck by something you said in your written testimony. You said gain-of-function research has no civilian practical applications. From a research perspective, then, why do it? I mean, what's the value, the real value of gain-of-function?
Thank you. This is what we're supposed to comment down below with, so maybe we'll get an answer, because, I mean, I have the same thinking as Howley did here of like, well, what would this be used for? What's the advantage of doing this? And the only thing I can really think of would be, in a sense, maybe some sort of biological warfare or just warfare in general of just wiping out a population. I don't know.
Function research.
Not a matter of value, but incentives, particularly incentives within the academic research ecosystem. Gain-of-function research of concern is fast and easy, much faster and much easier than vaccine or drug development. And gain-of-function research is publishable, and gain-of-function research is fundable. With those four incentives in place, fast, easy, fundable, and publishable, the research will be performed.
What is...
Eliminate any one of those incentives, and it will not be.
So thinking about China for a second, what's China's interest in gain-of-function research?
They have witnessed the United States leading the way with gain-of-function research. Most gain-of-function research of concern performed to date has been performed either in the U.S. with U.S. funding or overseas with U.S. funding. China has wished to be part of that and has participated in gain-of-function research of concern in China with U.S. funding, and has also supported gain-of-function research of concern in China entirely through Chinese programs.
So let me ask you this: gain-of-function research and bioweapons. What's the connection there? I mean, what role does?
Okay, so this is actually a great line of questioning from Senator Howley, and that's why I haven't commented on kind of what this. I don't know if you call him a guest or who he is, but commenting when Howley asked, what's the purpose of this? I mean, why create something like that of upwards like 60% or trying to do this type of gain of function research if it's not really for civilian purposes at all? And the guy kind of dodged the question. He just basically said, oh, well, it's easy to do. It's easy to get funding. It's easy to do research and get published and all these things. So Senator Howley asked him a few different ways and kind of, in a nutshell, was kind of beating around the bush of just, hey, I'm waiting for an answer and dancing around the question a little bit. So this is getting a little bit more crisp here. And that's why I think it's a great line of questioning, because now he's just going, I'm just going to be open with it, like biological warfare, biowarfare. What is this for?
Gain of function research play.
As I mentioned, there are no civilian practical applications. There are immense bioweapons practical applications. As you've heard from Dr. Esvelt, the potential pandemic pathogens that can emerge from such studies are potential weapons of mass destruction. Inexpensive, accessible, easily distributed weapons of mass destruction.
That is mind-blowing. Mind-blowing that where's the globe at on this? The United Nations all about humanitarian issues, all this stuff, and wants to take America's money, the taxpayer dollars money, and isn't even addressing this for the most part. I mean, everybody, literally all countries should be uniting on this and going in together and going, what the hell is going on here? I mean, everybody should be involved in this. It's mind-blowing that they're like, yeah, it's for biowarfare, mass destruction. It'll put us back a millennia. It's going to kill millions of people. I mean, I haven't watched this. You're getting a real-time reaction. I am so baffled at everything in terms of COVID-19 to monkeypox. And again, Joe Biden being soft on China. The world is being soft on China. Let's not just single out Joe Biden here. Where the hell is everybody at on this? That's my question. Again, it's almost dicey for us even posting this. So heck, if you're over at Rumble, again, give us a plus, give us a like and subscribe, folks. We need your help. We are being shadow banned here on the Bald Brad Show. Many of you have said your comments are getting deleted. Many of you have said you're getting unsubscribed without you doing it yourself. We have upwards of 70 to 85% of our subscribers are not getting our notifications when we upload. We upload 5 or 6 times a day. I mean, from 6 a.m. till sometimes 6 p.m., we are uploading every 2 hours. Something's going on here. YouTube is trying to silence the conservatives, the right-wing agenda, the narratives that we're trying to help with, making us all safer here, whether it's supporting the First Amendment or the Second Amendment, and trying to figure out what the hell is going on with this gain of function stuff. I know when I went on a little bit of a tangent there, but I think it's important to see that they want to silence us, and this video might be taken down here regarding COVID-19. I hope it's not, but we're exposing Anthony Fauci's lies, and we're exposing China, folks.
Let me ask you about some of the things that you have commented on with regard to what NIH and Dr. Fauci have said, and frankly, the lies they've been caught in regarding the coronavirus. I want to highlight 2 of them. In response to a congressional inquiry from October of 2021, just last year, the NIH attempted to walk back assertions by NIH Director Collins and Fauci that NIH had not funded gain-of-function research in Wuhan. You commented at the time saying, and I'm going to quote you now, NIH, specifically Collins, Fauci, and Tabak, lied to Congress, lied to the press, and lied to the public knowingly, willfully, brazenly. On May the 11th, Dr. Fauci said the NIH and NIAID categorically has not funded gain-of-function research to be conducted in the Wuhan Institute of Virology. You commented on that, saying the documents make it clear that assertions by the NIH director, Francis Collins, and Fauci that the NIH did not support gain-of-function research are untruthful. So just expand on that if you would. I mean, what are the implications of Dr. Fauci's continued blatant dishonesty regarding NIH's funding of gain-of-function research in Wuhan?
I stand by my statement. The statements made on repeated occasions to the public, to the press, and to policymakers by the NIAID director, Dr. Fauci, have been untruthful. I do not understand why those statements are being made, because they are demonstrably false.
It is refreshing when you get a question and the person just answers it clearly. For those that are frequent viewers here on the Bald Brad Show, we've been dealing with Jen Psaki, the President of the United States, Karine Jean-Pierre, that spins and just doesn't answer questions. It makes me wonder if these 2 guys that Senator Hawley's questioning are either centrists or, you know, go to the right a little bit, because they're just giving you answers. And the guy doubled down on, he's like, yeah, the guy's a freaking liar. Anthony Fauci is a scumbag liar. Hey, folks, you remember Anthony Fauci screwed up the whole AIDS thing? You know, that's still going on. I mean, it's not as obviously as bad as it was before, but, you know, we roll into COVID-19, screws that up as well. You need masks. Oh, the vaccine, you know, you're not going to get sick. Now you get sick. I mean, the peddling and the pushing and the lies that this man has done, it's amazing. He gets paid more than the President of the United States. His pension, Google what his pension's going to be, folks. Have fun with that, because that's your taxpayer dollars coming out of your pocket every year to pay for that dude. That's basically a politician. Ridiculous. And I'm glad Hawley, Rand Paul, the rest of the conservatives, Republicans are exposing that guy for what he is, a liar.
Can I ask you just about, in my few remaining seconds here, let me ask you about an effort to shut down any kind of questioning of the origins of COVID. On February 19, 2020, a group of virologists and others published that famous letter, infamous letter in The Lancet, which said, among other things, "We stand together to strongly condemn conspiracy theories suggesting COVID-19 does not have a natural origin." And of course, we later found out that the Lancet letter had been organized by Peter Daszak, president of EcoHealth Alliance, which we've discussed today, operated a lab in Wuhan with a $600,000 5-year annual grant of taxpayer dollars from Fauci's NIAID to study bat coronaviruses. That letter conveniently concluded by stating, "We declare no competing interests." Many people designate this letter as the first effort to quash any kind of debate about the origins of COVID-19. Do you think that labeling the lab leak theory as a conspiracy theory so early on had the effect of slowing down investigations into the origins of the virus?
It certainly had that effect, but the Lancet letter that you described was only one of 2 efforts to impose the false narrative that science shows SARS-CoV-2 entered humans through natural spillover, and that is the consensus view of scientists. One of the efforts was the Lancet letter you discussed. The other effort was coordinated and orchestrated through the National Institutes of Health, through the NIAID director, Dr. Fauci, and the NIH director, Dr. Collins, and resulted in the publication of an opinion article entitled Proximal Origins of SARS-CoV-2, making the case, again, that SARS-CoV-2 could not have been a product of research-related spillover.
The guy just dropped a nuke, folks. The guy just completely shattered Anthony Fauci and everything that he was pushing for how many months, if not years? My mind is blown. I actually don't know what to say. Very rarely am I kind of speechless right now. Let's see if anything of this man's testimony, as well as the other gentlemen, they seem like they're both MDs or doctors. Let's see if anything comes of it in terms of Congress going further with this and wanting to investigate it even further. And freaking maybe the UN wants to get involved, or at least our allies, to figure out what the hell's going on here.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
If you enjoy,
folks, wild, and applause to Senator Josh Hawley for doing yeoman's work over there, getting to the bottom line of exposing Anthony Fauci for his lies that he's been pushing him on upon the American people and frankly the globe here for over 2 years now. Transitioning into our next story of the day, and I know you guys love these. We got Peter Doocy versus Karine Jean-Pierre. He is the gladiator, folks. He's a national treasure. Without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
Thanks, Karine. Why do you think people are continuing to drop out of the labor market?
Say that one more time. Can you say more?
The labor force participation rate is at its lowest level of the year now. Why do you think that is?
So participation actually ticked up,
It declined 0.1 percentage points to 62.1%, the lowest level of the year.
So it actually ticked up for prime age workers when you look at 25 to 54, and for workers 65 and plus. The tick down this month was actually about teenagers, and it's important to keep in mind that the labor force participation rate has bounced back relatively quickly compared to its pace in the past. So we have seen an uptick in the labor force. Again, what we saw this month was a tick down with teenagers.
Okay, and then
that's kind of a massive issue. And it's funny because I've talked to people about this recently. There was a story of in Venice Beach, California, there's a pizzeria that might be going under because they just can't find labor. And a lot of those jobs, when you look at pizzerias, the McDonald's, the Panda Expresses, the fast food industry, and even kind of the small business industry, utilizes those minimum wage workers, teenagers or young adults, to be able to get by, pay the bills, get the service done, get the work done. They can't find any labor. And I thought it was so odd because when you're looking at this demographic, it wasn't necessarily an issue pre-COVID, but all of a sudden it's an issue after COVID. And this is a question, and I love that Peter Doocy asked it, and I actually don't know the answer to it just yet. I'm trying to accumulate more research and reading to try and present you all an answer to it of what's going on. Why is this the case? Is it because minimum wage for the federal level is $7.25? Or is it, I mean, a lot of states don't even go with $7.25, like California's like over $15. Or is it because of that aspect of the localities, the states are upping their minimum wage so much where you have supply chain issues, you have the cost of goods and service, the wages itself going up as well, that they can't actually afford to pay these workers the price that they want. They're either breaking even or they're not going to break even. But this is the progressive left on they always want to increase wages because it's not a living wage. It's just not a wage that's sustainable. Well, if it's not a wage that is sustainable, then go out and find and create other skills that will allow you to get the labor, or at least get the salary of which your labor is worth. So this is a really great question. If any of you have any ideas on this, let me know in the comments down below. If there's any great articles that you have that you want to send me, my email is in the description. I would love to read them. Again, it's it's a question I don't have answers to just yet, but it's a really interesting one.
Foreign policy, President Biden's foreign policy approach, did not prevent Putin from invading Ukraine. What makes you so sure that his approach here is going to prevent China from invading Taiwan?
Putin is now a pariah on the world stage. And that has happened because what the president did is he brought together the NATO alliance. They are stronger than they ever been. We're about to welcome Sweden and Finland, which has expanded the alliance, which is incredibly important. And if you look at what's going on with Russia's economy, it's not doing too great right now. And that's because of what we have been able to do as a unit, what we have been able to show our force of strength, the sanctions who have actually had effect on Russia. And so that matters. You have seen a leadership from this president that would not, if NATO would not have, the strength of NATO and how they've come together would not have happened if it wasn't for this president's leadership.
So is President Biden...
I don't know about that, folks. I just don't. It's just, I just remember the G7 summit. We had Boris Johnson acknowledge, I think it was some representative from Africa or South Africa or something like that. And then Joe Biden's like, oh, what about him? And everybody started laughing at Joe Biden because Boris Johnson had already acknowledged him. And everybody's laughing at the guy. Our NATO allies don't take Joe Biden serious. They know he's just here for another couple years, at least in the presidency. Lord only knows how long we'll have him here on the planet. But look, the guy's not running the show. The guy can't even run his own southern border. You think this guy's handling NATO? You think this guy's handling the whole Russia-Ukraine thing? By the way, there's rumors that we're going to send them another $1 billion. All the while, they want China to come in and help them rebuild. Go figure that one, you guys.
Is goal here then to make Xi a pariah on the world stage?
No, I'm just speaking to Russia. What I'm saying about China is that there's no reason for Beijing to have escalated the way that they have. There is no reason. The policy has not changed. We are still in line with the one China policy. The speaker had every right to take that trip. And so that is something that they need to speak to.
Okay, and then last one. Why?
Folks, they are walking on eggshells with China. You can see it in their messaging. You can see it in their response to questions. They're being so careful not to piss them off. Granted, there is two ways of looking at this, right? There's one in which they could invade Taiwan based on the rhetoric coming from the administration, which I would totally understand. But then there's the other aspect of, look, you started off weak on China. So you got to kind of continue that trend, because if you go from weak to strong, it's just going to piss them off. Where if you did what Trump did all the way from the primaries, he was going hard on China. During his administration, he went hard on China. Even after, he's still going hard on China. So it's easy to stay hard. So the Biden administration isn't going to be able to do what the Trump administration did by being strong on China. If they were to switch, it's all going to fall apart at that moment. But let's go ahead and continue.
Why is the president bragging today about gas prices?
Because it's gone down.
It's still $1.72 higher than when he took office.
It has come down in a way that we haven't seen its trajectory coming down in over a decade.
Still
and
over
it is
$4 a gallon, though.
Okay.
Is that good?
You want to talk to a nurse or a teacher or a firefighter if having that little bit of breathing room doesn't matter to
Are
them?
nurses and teachers and firefighters saying gas prices are only $4.11?
I'm saying
This
that
is great.
I'm saying that even that little bit of breathing room matters to families, especially during this summer when people are traveling, when people are trying to do what they can for their families, when people are trying to think about what are we going to do with our kids, drive them to camp, driving to see other family members across the country. This matters. When you think about 85 cents per month for a family member, you think that doesn't matter for everyday Americans? That matters. And the reason we're seeing that is because of the work that this president has done the last several months. It's because of what the historic tapping of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, 1 million gallons per day until September. That matters because of all the work that he continues to do when it comes to inflation. So he's going to continue. There's more work to be done. He's going to continue to do that work. But to say that the changes, the drop that we have seen at the pump per gallon doesn't matter, I think that is wrong. I think that is not true, and I think that does give a little bit of space of breathing room for families, and is important. I'll come to the back in a second.
I would like to point out, nobody said that it doesn't matter. Peter Doocy was asking them, why are you taking a victory lap when you entered the administration, gas prices started rising, Putin invaded Ukraine, and then you started making the whole messaging of, well, it's Putin's fault, and yet gas prices continue to surge, both because of your doing and because of Putin invading Ukraine. So now all of a sudden you want to take a victory lap because prices are down and you're going to try to contribute it to Joe Biden releasing 1 million barrels of oil, upon which some of them from our petroleum reserve were going to our Europe allies as well as to China. And it just so happens Hunter Biden has investments within the Chinese area of which that oil went to. Go figure, but nobody's going to investigate that. You know, Donald Trump's handshakes while he's taking a drink of water and everybody needs to start questioning everything that's wrong with the president. But you have Joe Biden here making irrational decisions every freaking day and nobody's raising the alarm. Nobody's ringing the bell on that whole spiel. It's amazing how she'll transition into a question that was never even asked. He never even mentioned anything that it doesn't matter. But I love it. Oh, well, the teachers, the firefighters. I'm a teacher. I mean, it honestly, it doesn't really change that much. I've had to do some shuffling of my bills, but other than that, or at least my expenses, it's not doing that much, to be quite honest. I live in California. It's hard to really feel the effects of a dramatic increase here when everything is so expensive already. But she's going to sit there and continue to push this stuff. The petroleum reserve, he's doing everything he can. He's not doing everything he can, folks. Okay? If he was, he would increase domestic oil production. If he was, we would see freaking litany of meetings with him, with the CEOs of the oil companies, you know, trying to increase production that way. But no, he wants to go to Saudi Arabia, massage their soldiers, kiss their feet, fist bump them, and walk away with nothing. But, you know, hey, he's doing everything he can. He's doing a fabulous job here, according to Karine Jean-Pierre and the rest of the Democrats, where literally 25% of them will still vote for the guy. Look around. Everything's burning. Everything's burning to the ground. And they want to still vote for this knucklehead. It just shows you that they want to destroy the country. They will go out to the voting booths, or their lack of, I guess, by receiving mail-in ballots, you know, 5 at a time, 3 at a time, you know, receive dead people's ballots, all, you know, how dead people voting nowadays. But this is the stuff they want to do. They would rather have this knucklehead that's being strung up like a piñata, like a puppet, supposedly leading NATO, supposedly doing everything he can, working really hard in the White House to get gas prices down, figure out inflation, you know, run the whole Russia-Ukraine debacle by just sending them billions of dollars. Yeah, he's doing everything, you guys. He's just a phenomenal president. Probably the top president we've ever had. And with our last story of the day, we have Senator Ted Cruz of Texas questioning the FBI director regarding certain logos and certain people being basically considered terrorists, which is mind-blowing because some of the logos, some of the organizations on this list are actual former Navy SEALs. And those have YouTube channels. It's so crazy how corrupt, in my opinion, the FBI has become, how politicized it has become. And it's a very dangerous thing in which you have individuals inside such a powerful organization that can wield their power upon you, the American people, go and raid you, pull out warrants, do all sorts of things, and make your life very miserable. It's a scary thing. And that's what happens when you give so much power to the government to be able to do scary things to people like us. That's why we need the Bill of Rights. That's why we need the Second Amendment. If our government were to go usurpacious upon us, whether that's a domestic government, meaning our own, or a foreign one like China, like Russia, look what's happening in Russia, Ukraine. Ukraine's having to ask us for billions of dollars for not just cash, but also weaponry. Well, we don't have to ask for that. We'll kick ass no matter what. Why? Because we have over 300 million guns in circulation here in America. We are armed to the tits. Nobody's going to invade us because we'll kick their ass real quick. With that being said, let's go ahead and roll this clip from Ted Cruz and the FBI director. I got super patriotic there for a second, folks. I apologize.
Senator Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Wray, I'm deeply concerned that the FBI and the Department of Justice have become thoroughly politicized. I think this is a problem that began during the Obama administration. I think it metastasized with career officials during the Trump administration, and I think it continues and is even worse today under the Biden administration. I don't believe you personally reflect that politicization, but I think you've been unwilling to root it out and unwilling to hold people accountable for the politicization. I hear regularly from FBI agents and from professionals at the Department of Justice who are dismayed that our law enforcement has been weaponized and politicized rather than remaining apolitical as it has been for the history of our country. Yesterday, it was reported that Project Veritas had obtained a copy of an FBI training material, which listed various symbols and themes which, in the FBI's estimation, were indicative of, quote, militia violent extremism. Now, these symbols weren't things like the Ku Klux Klan or the Nazi Party, which naturally would be symbols of that, but instead they included, rather astonishingly, patriotic symbols of our nation and our history. Included on this list is the Betsy Ross flag. Now, that's fairly remarkable that the Betsy Ross flag in the FBI's indication is indicative of militia violent extremism, because among other people who have been publicly alongside the Betsy Ross flag, we have President Barack Obama, who was sworn in directly underneath two Betsy Ross flags. But it's not just President Obama. We also have President Biden, who was sworn in under Betsy Ross flags. It's not just the Betsy Ross flag. Also on this list is the Gadsden flag as a symbol of violent extremism. Now, the state of Virginia has a license plate for the Gadsden flag, as do many other states. I think people would be astonished to find that having that license plate, the FBI indicates that you're a violent extremist. Also included on this is a text that I was particularly struck, is the Gonzales battle flag. Come and take it. As indicative of being a violent extremist militia. Well, I will self-report right now that every day in the Senate I wear my boots that have the Gonzales battle flag on the back of them. Director Wray, what are y'all doing? This makes no sense. Do you agree with this FBI guidance that the Betsy Ross flag and the Gadsden flag and the Gonzales battle flag are signs of militia violent extremism?
Well, Senator, I'm not familiar with the particular document you have behind you, and I'm not in the practice of trying to comment on documents that I haven't recognized, but I will tell you that when we put out intelligence products, including ones that reference symbols, which we do across a wide variety of contexts, we usually take great pains to put caveats and warnings in the document that make clear that a symbol alone is not considered evidence of violent extremism, and it's...
Well, but Director Wray, you don't include things like Antifa, you don't include things like Black Lives Matter. Instead, you identify patriotic Americans as suspects, and I would note there's a pattern of this. As you're aware, the National Association of School Boards asked the Attorney General to investigate parents as domestic terrorists under the Patriot Act. Now, it did so because it was upset about moms and dads coming to school boards and disagreeing with the policies of those schools. 5 days after that letter, the Attorney General sent a memo to you directing the FBI to target parents for investigation. Since that time, the National Association of School Boards has apologized for the letter because it was so indefensible, but that hasn't stopped the FBI. In fact, you've created a specific threat tag directed at parents. So let me ask you, how many moms and dads who have spoken up at school boards has the FBI interviewed or investigated since the memo from the Attorney General?
Well, first off, I'll say I'm not aware of any. But second, let me address the issue.
You're not aware of any? Like the House of Representatives has written you and asked you about it.
If you would let me.
So please
finish,
answer.
Please. Let me say to you and to this committee the same thing I said to every FBI field office after I read the memo, which was that the FBI is not going to be in the business of investigating speech or policing speech at school board meetings or anywhere else, and that we're not about to start now, that threats of violence, that's a different matter altogether, and there we will work with our state and local partners as we always have.
So Director Wray, our time is, do you know how many parents you have interviewed or investigated since that memo?
I am aware that we have had a small number of assessments, which is less than an investigation.
Okay. If you saw our first video clip of this episode of the Bald Brad Show, where we saw Senator Josh Hawley question some doctors on gain-of-function research, and just how crisp and clear they were in their messaging and what they said. There's no contradictions. It just was what it was. You got this guy. You're telling me this isn't political? You tell me this guy doesn't have his pocket in the freak, or his whole head, his body, whatever the hell you want to call it, in the pockets of the Democrats? Oh, well, set down. I told them. I was clear on it. How many investigations have you done? Oh, well, shit, we did some assessments. So it doesn't want to call it investigations, but we did some assessments.
Investigation and a few full investigations. Hold on.
So how many? Hold
on. Let me finish.
I'm asking a question. Our time is limited.
I don't know the number, but did not necessarily. Let me finish. That are not necessarily of parents. We have individuals who have made threats against a variety of people. Sometimes school board officials, sometimes other people as well.
Director Wray, I will point out the House of Representatives has sent you oversight letters detailing dozens of investigations under a threat tag directed at parents, moms and dads, who G-men have come in because they spoke out against mask mandates or vaccine mandates or critical race theory, and suddenly the G-men show up. And this was after the Attorney General claimed it wasn't happening. And so the pattern, sadly, we've seen, you say you don't know how many there are. The follow-up will be, I'll send you a letter, and you'll send back a letter that says I refuse to answer it. Let me give another example.
Damn. Ted Cruz knows how the show is ran. He knows how bogus this organization has gone, the FBI. Look, there's a lot of good FBI agents. There's a lot of people in government that do a good job, but look how politicized it has become. The guy can't answer a simple question. I'm not expecting him to know exactly how many investigations there are. Do you know how much stuff the FBI goes through? And you can't just expect an individual just to have all this knowledge in their head, like extreme number based in terms of, oh, we have 13 investigations that were conducted on this day, these people, this, like, it's ridiculous. But that's why Ted Cruz said, look, I'm going to follow up with a letter, and you'll say, we're not going to answer it, which is typical. It's typical from these politicized organizations, individuals, to not want to answer questions, because when light is spread in darkness, it exposes a lot of things, and they don't want to be exposed here for their shenanigans. And their shenanigans are being used on American people, parents. They're being used on parents, and now they're being used on other organizations for using symbols, patriotic symbols, and now they're extremists. Scary time.
There was the case against individuals charged with kidnapping and murdering Governor Gretchen Whitmer in Michigan. That case ended up an absolute debacle where the 4 people who went to trial, 2 of them were acquitted, 2 received mistrials. None of them were convicted on even a single charge, and the basis of the defense was entrapment, that the FBI, that paid enforcements for the FBI, had suggested and had incited the conduct. Let me ask you, how many FBI agents were disciplined or reprimanded after that disastrous case and the misconduct that led to every defendant being acquitted or having a mistrial on every charge?
Senator, I can't comment on a personnel matter. I can tell you that case, as I understand it, is now pending a retrial, as I understand it.
Well, the special agent in charge of that case has now been sent to D.C., to the Washington, D.C. office, and now leads the investigation regarding January 6th. Is that correct?
That doesn't sound right to me.
That does not sound right. The name of the individual is Stephen D'Antuono. He was run out of the FBI Detroit field office. And by the way, I will point out that the lead investigator, Special Agent Track, are you aware that he was apparently fired for allegedly beating his wife after coming home from a swingers party, and he'd made multiple derogatory political posts about President Trump showing political bias? Are you aware of that?
I am aware of, I think, the incident you're describing and action that was taken about it. To clarify on the first part of your question, Mr. D'Antuono was the special agent in charge of the office, the Detroit field office. It is now the assistant director in charge of the Washington field office. I thought you were asking about the agent who was responsible for the.
So the guy in charge got promoted and is now in charge of the January 6th investigation.
The guy in charge of the whole Detroit field office is now in charge of the whole Washington field office.
That is astonishing.
That is. I'm speechless again. What the hell? What the actual hell? Is anybody's minds blown on today's episode of the Bald Brad Show as much as mine? This is why you got to like and subscribe, folks, so that we can get this type of messaging out there to people so they can be brought the truth and have their eyes awoken to how political, how corrupt the government has gotten. And it's the conservatives and Republicans that are bringing it out. I'm not saying there aren't corrupt and wrong people in the Republican Party or even some conservatives out there, but damn, it is really dominant within the Democrat Party and these progressive lefts. And look what happens when it seeps into the FBI, when it seeps in these organizations. You get promoted. You get promoted for... You're doing a terrible job in one sector, so they give you the boot out of the building. They don't want you to lead that office, going, hey, you know what? You know what, buddy? Yeah. We're gonna promote you, and we're gonna give you more people to be over, and we're gonna help you with an involvement in the January 6th committee because you're not unbiased. You know, you're not doing anything. You've done a fabulous job, so you deserve a promotion. This is how the progressive left, this is how the Democrat Party think. In a nutshell, look at Joe Biden. The guy sat in his basement during an entire campaign, is clearly going through some dementia. We're getting rumors from Tucker Carlson on Fox News that Joe Biden allegedly was being given drugs by his wife that she would have to monitor him every hour. And anytime he goes out there in public, reads a teleprompter, does anything, he has to be fed more drugs, falls off his bicycle sitting stationary. But, you know, he gets promoted as president of the United States from vice president because he did what type of job as vice president? He didn't do anything. He hasn't done anything for 40 plus years in the Senate. And that's how the Democrat Party rolls. When you haven't got anything done or you do something bad, you get promoted for it. And now he's sitting in the highest elected office you can be in the United States of America. Unbelievable. What the F is going on?
Senator Coons.
Thank you.
So, Ted Cruz doing a fabulous job there. I thought there was more regarding the testimony from the FBI director with Ted Cruz asking questions. If there's anything that is highlighted that needs to be, I will be sure to bring it to all of you. But as always, hit that like and subscribe, folks. Let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. I love the community aspect that we have. You all are hilarious. You got great ideas. You say great things. With that being said, I will see you tomorrow here on The Bald Brad Show.